This video describes 5 important topics of the Aztec. The 5 topics in this video include the rise of the Aztec, the Valley of Mexico, Aztec Gods, Aztec Leaders, and the fall of the Aztec. Part 1 is about the rise of the Aztec. The Aztec were a great civilization in the center of what is now modern-day Mexico. The Aztec were originally a band of wandering hunter-gatherers who eventually settled in the Valley of Mexico. They were originally called the Mexica. The name Aztec comes from Aztlan, their legendary homeland. At first, they were not well received and considered outsiders. The Aztec had a legend that they would receive a sign from the gods of where to settle. In this legend, they believed they would see an eagle on top of a cactus holding a snake in its beak. At this site, they would build the city of Tenochtitlan. They settled on an island in Lake Texcoco in the Valley of Mexico. Their empire was at its zenith from about 1428 to 1519 CE. The Aztec Empire was huge. In his first letter to the crown, Hernán Cortés writes, "The country beyond these sandhills is level, with many fertile plains, in which are some beautiful riverbanks that in all of Spain there can be found no better. These are as grateful to the sight as they are productive in everything sown in them, and very orderly and well kept, with walks and facilities for grazing all kinds of animals. There is every kind of game in this country, and animals and birds such as are familiar to us: deer, fallow deer, wolves, foxes, quails, doves, and pigeons, and 2 or 3 kinds of hares and rabbits, so that there are no difference between this country and Spain as regards to birds and animals. There are lions and tigers." So obviously in his letter there's some inconsistencies because there's no lions or tigers in Mexico, but he's probably talking about some other big cat. The next topic is the Valley of Mexico. The Aztec were not the first civilization to settle in the Valley of Mexico. People had been living there for at least 1,000 years before the Aztec. The 2 groups in the valley before the Aztec were the Teotihuacans and the Toltecs. The Valley of Mexico has a high elevation. It is nearly 8,000 feet above sea level. I remember traveling to Mexico City and I ran up a flight of stairs and became really winded. My heart was pounding. This surprised me because I did not think the elevation was higher than most ski resorts and mountains near me. The first group, the Teotihuacans, built the great city of Teotihuacan, with most prominent building being the Pyramid of the Sun. This group lived in the valley from about 100 to 650 CE. After this, the Toltecs migrated into this area. The Toltecs were the dominant group in the valley until about the 11th century. Hey, just a note, 94.8% of people watching my videos are unsubscribed. Please subscribe to my channel. I want to bring this ratio to like 75% if I can. Topic number 3 is the Aztec Gods. The Aztec worshiped many gods, making them polytheistic. Many of these gods were adopted from other civilizations in Meso-America. One particular god was Tlaloc. Tlaloc was the rain god who was venerated and feared. He was important to farming because he brought rain to help crops grow, such as maize. On the darker side of things, the Aztec believed that he brought floods and storms. Another god was Quetzalcoatl, or feathered serpent. He was one of the most important gods in Aztec religion. The Aztec believed he was a serpent who crawled on the ground and rose to the sky. This symbolized rebirth after death. The Aztec also believed that Quetzalcoatl was the protector of artisans, the inventor of time, and the god of education. A third god, Huitzilopochtli, was the god of the sun and war. He is often depicted as a hummingbird or an eagle in Aztec art. Every day, Aztec priests would sacrifice hundreds of birds to Huitzilopochtli. However, the greatest form of sacrifice was to offer humans in a ritual that involved cutting out a person's heart. It is believed that the Aztecs practiced human sacrifice on a much larger scale than other Meso-American groups. Topic number 4 is Aztec Leaders. Itzcoatl was the Aztec ruler from 1428 to 1440. He allied the Aztec with Texcoco and Tlacopan, forming the Triple Alliance. With his teamwork, the Aztec and their allies defeated the Tepanecs in 1428. This helped make Tenochtitlan a great power. Itzcoatl, his next goal was to rewrite Aztec history. He burned records that referred to the Aztecs' humble origins and then connected the Aztecs to Toltec history, which was considered more prestigious. Another important leader was Montezuma I. This is not to be confused with Montezuma II, who was the ruler when the Spanish conquistadors arrived. Montezuma I ruled from 1398 to 1469. During his reign, the Aztec Empire expanded. He conquered Oaxaca and the Gulf areas around there. He also organized the construction of the aqueducts in Tenochtitlan to bring fresh water to the area. Montezuma II was the ruler during the Spanish conquest. I will talk more about him in the next section. Topic number 5 is the fall of the Aztec. The destruction of the Aztec Empire was instigated by a Spanish explorer named Hernán Cortés. In 1519, Cortés explored present-day Mexico. The native people of Mexico told the Spanish conquistador about the wealthy Aztec. Cortés found a guide, a woman named Malinche, to reach Tenochtitlan. Montezuma II, the ruler of the Aztec, welcomed the Spanish, but Cortés took Montezuma II hostage. Soon the Spanish besieged the city with allies who resented Aztec rule. After several months, the Spanish conquered the Aztec. 2 Aztec leaders ruled after the death of Montezuma II, but their reigns were short-lived. 3 reasons the Aztec were overwhelmed by such a small Spanish force were that the Spanish brought disease, the Spanish had superior weapons, and probably the biggest factor was that the Spanish made allies with Aztec enemies. The Aztec civilization had such a rich history even though they did not last that long compared to others in their area. I plan to make more videos about the Aztec in the future. Please subscribe if you found this content interesting and check out some of my other historical videos.